Hello everyone, welcome to D&D Night on DDOstream right here on twitch.tv/DDOstream. I'm your Dungeon Master Cordovan, and I'll be with you here until 10 o'clock-ish, maybe not quite that long. We might go a little shorter tonight, we'll see how things go. Every Sunday night, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/DDOstream, D&D Night on DDOstream. Dungeons & Dragons Tabletop, by and for DDO players. I am Cordovan. I'm the community manager for Standing Stone Games and Dungeons & Dragons Online here, and I've been a part of a DM here for a pretty long-running campaign now here on D&D Night on DDOstream, centered around the world of Eternya. And about 6 months ago was the last time we got together for this particular campaign. I'd been doing a few one-offs since then. And we're really moving into the next big phase of the adventure and the campaign here tonight. So things wrapped up big time last time, and we're moving on to sort of the next big chapter in the world of Eternya. I'm going to have a recap here in just a minute. I'll introduce everybody. But I did just want to quick say that D&D Night on DDOstream is brought to you by Fantasy Grounds. They're a sponsor. That means they provided some licenses to help us make this happen. You can get a free game account over on fantasygrounds.com and learn a little bit more about how this works. This is a way to bring tabletop virtual. You probably already know about Fantasy Grounds, but if you don't, well worth checking out. And we do want to thank them for their sponsorship here of D&D Night on DDOstream. Let's see. I think that's actually pretty good. I actually did want to mention real quick, after watching the intro again this evening, I have on my short, medium-term agenda here to maybe give another shot at that D&D Night on DDOstream intro. We've been using it for a few years now, and although I'm happy with the way it turned out, there's a few things I'd like to fix about it, up to and including the fact that I only saved it in 720p for whatever reason. Oops. And I can no longer go back and edit my source files because I've lost them. So maybe it's the world telling me to just come up with a newer intro here for 2021. All right, anyway, welcome to anyone who's in chat. It looks like we got at least a couple of you here. If you're watching afterwards, we really appreciate you being here. It's a really nice new Dungeon Masters every Sunday night. We got basically a rotating cast of DMs, and I rotate in the third Sunday of the month. Okay, the world of Eternya was a land ruled by fear. Death was ever present, and the darkness and difficulty of life made people hard. The party were members of the Queen's Hunters, part of the Queen's Guard, an elite group sent to enforce rule, collect taxes, and map out the vast queendom. The world was once wild and untamed, full of gods, demons, witches, warlocks, and monsters. Over many generations, the king expanded the borders to encompass the entirety of the known world. While the kingdom is vast, it is so large there are many places with little connection to the rest of Eternya's rule. Thus, the queen created the Queen's Hunters, to bring civilization to the uncivilized, help people understand their duties as part of the queendom, and collect taxes in exchange for services. One of the most necessary services the Queen's Hunters provided was enforcement of civilization. Where the wild encroaches and attempts to destroy, the hunters investigate and get rid of the threat. Hundreds of years ago, the king and queen ruled the kingdom together, but the two were unable to conceive an heir, and the threat of ruination of their kingdom arose. The pair had both declared themselves immortal, and since hundreds of years passed without the two aging, there was no real dispute to their claim. When civil war rose its head and the kingdom appeared to be on the verge of fracturing, the king and queen conspired to continue their reign. The queen beheaded the king in a public ceremony, thereby elevating herself to the highest power, and her immortality kept the land from then on known as the queendom intact and under her control. The king's head remained on a spike in the royal city courtyard, so visitors could learn the history of the realm and pay their respects. your party had been called to the General of the Queen's Guard. Once there, you met with the Queen herself, an exceptionally rare honor, where you were tasked with mapping the northeastern edge of the known world and resolving a local disappearance of the daughter of the official representative of the Queen. She also asked for apple seeds from that area, the most delicious she'd ever eaten, so they could be planted in the royal garden. After a lengthy adventure, the group discovered that the woods were in fact the possession of an entity that simply called itself the Great Tree, and upon the tree's defeat, a few poor members of the party that had partaken of the apples from the woods found themselves decaying unto death, sapped of life from some force. The group quickly became concerned about what that might mean for the Queen. Had she eaten the apple? Is that what granted her immortality? And if so, was the Queen now alive or dead? Further concern happened when rumors spread throughout the realm of something unsettling and amiss in the royal city. The party quickly found itself traveling to another far-off section of Eternya, tasked with delivering a message to an Esnazarius, a powerful wizard who was immediately dispatched to go to the Queen, leaving the party in charge of a storehouse of powerful magical secrets and artifacts. Upon Esnazarius's return, he promptly attempted to lock them out of the place, leaving the party at the mercy of a powerful hag and her minions. The party survived, barely and mostly, with one member now both alive and dead, and with a ghost cat named Esnazarius Jr., who claims to be Esnazarius' son. We actually had two that ended up being in this alive nor dead situation. Esnazarius himself was literally torn apart by one of the hags, leaving the party alone and able to escape. After a break at a tavern during their travels where they learned more about the Queen's sister, who was not a biological sister to the Queen, but rather a close advisor and alleged ally, the party was called to the captain of the Queen's Guard on urgent, mandatory business. However, it was clear that the call was suspicious. It was not your captain who sent the letter, and despite having the royal seal, it appeared to be a clear case of deception. While traveling back to the royal city, the group was followed and repeatedly attacked by ghostly assassins who the group later learned were being directed by the Queen and her guard. Eventually, the party met up with the Queen's sister and her allies, including a large giant named Donut the Ancient and his kobold inventor friend, and they learned that word had begun to spread out from the royal city that people were disappearing, never to return. Joining forces, the group stealthily entered the city and found themselves locked into an incredibly dangerous battle in the royal courtyard itself with the Queen, the King, and the Queen's Guard. At least those who remained alive. The Queen had become a creature neither dead nor alive, but rather a desiccated creature of immense magic and power, along with the King. The party discovered what was happening in the center of power in the royal city. Citizens, guards, and others were being taken and used to fuel the continued dark undeath of the Queen and King. After a challenging fight, a member of the party named Tabiana managed to get very lucky, and her spiritual weapon scored a hit on the King, shattering the gems that had been used as the King's phylactery. The King's skull itself was the Queen's phylactery, and the King's destruction caused the Queen's head to explode, bringing an end to hundreds of years of reign. The last session ended at the end of that combat. Exhausted and bloodied, the party allowed itself to be taken under the wing of the Queen's sister, one Z. Esnazarius, who brought the party into the royal palace itself. Now, the party has had a chance to sleep, eat, rest, and consider their next move. We're going to move on and talk about the last little bit here in a second as we get going. But I did want to go, now that we've got some people here and a little bit of time, let me go and have everyone introduce themselves, say who you are, your character name, and perhaps give people a little bit of an overview of your character since it has been 6 months and some people might be new to this. So we'll start here with Tabiana, whose lucky blow ended up really bringing an end to the King and Queen's reign.
Hi, I am Even Note. I am playing Tabiana Brightleaf, who is a halfling cleric and has formed a very, very special bond with Esnazarius Jr., or as she calls him, Sneezy Jr. And Tabiana is not really undead, but also not really alive. And I'm still honestly not sure what that means.
It means that basically you died, but the magic used to kill you kind of left you in an almost interplanar state. So essentially, you're alive, you have a physical form, but your soul is half detached from your body and existing in two worlds at once. All right. Let's say hello next to someone who's also done a ton of damage throughout this campaign, one of the powerhouses of the group, and that is Maximilian.
Hi, everybody. I'm playing Maximilian, who is a judge, which we're representing as a Hexblade Warlock. He is an exceptionally large individual and quite stern. And he was the prior holder of the partially alive, partially not alive.
Yeah, you were the first. You broke the seal on that, as it were, and were the first to become both alive and dead. And then Tabiana followed suit not long after, and then Esnazarius Jr., the cat, who claims to be the son of Esnazarius, is also a ghost at this point. So, and you are what is the formal? I'm trying to think. What's the formal name of your race? You're a Goliath,
right?
Is that formal giant size then?
Let's see. I'm 7'6".
Okay, so close to it.
Yeah, pushing the edge of how big you can be and be medium, but it's since we're all technically human, it just represents him being really huge and different. But all of that's disguised with his encompassing gear, the mirrored mask, etc.
Yeah, it tends to be kind of wearing long robes and a mask and all that sort of thing. So, an imposing figure, to say the least.
Right. Because, like you said, it was ruled by fear.
Absolutely. And that fear came in handy as a judge, because you had to go off into the middle of nowhere and often deal with local disputes. Not maybe at this point, though. The queendom itself is maybe they don't even really know, maybe at this point, what's going on. This is all, just immediately after the battle, essentially. But the word will soon spread, and who knows what the heck's going to happen. That's what we're going to be focusing on in the next couple of sessions. Finally, I wanted to introduce Lucrezia.
Hi, everybody. This is Lynn. I'm playing Lucretia Stormfoot, who is a human paladin and the only completely live member of our party. Has not been blown up, has not eaten berries and become invisible, has not done anything like that. And is kind of at this point wandering around in confusion because she was the queen's representative, and then the queen's head blew up, and the queen was evil, and she's still wondering what the heck is going on.
Where's my next paycheck going to come from? Probably not the queen. Yeah. All right. So, as I kind of mentioned at the end of the write-up here to start off the session, you've been brought into the royal palace by the queen's sister, really exhausted, worn out from that battle. The main point, it was nighttime even when you snuck in, and the main point was let's get somewhere safe, get a chance to recuperate, and figure out what to do next. You've been summoned to the Queen's library, where months ago you were originally tasked by the Queen to travel, with the fate of the party and the fate of Eternya itself in flux. It could be determined in the coming days based on your choices. One of the things I plan to do with this session is I've got plans as to what's going to happen. I've got stories and I've got outcomes. But this is really going to be an opportunity for the group to figure out what they want to do. You've got the power here. You've got the touch. You got the power. And you can decide what to do with that, basically, at this point. So at the moment, you were summoned to the Queen's library, but you are resting in the royal palace itself. I want to take a couple of minutes here at the start of the session to do one thing I was hoping to do kind of between sessions, but then everyone got busy, and I did too, and everything. And that is, I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to level up. You've hit a big milestone, and with it, I'm going to boost everyone up to level 10. So if you want to take a couple minutes to just sort of talk about, what you pick up and extra things, give a few minutes while we're sort of talking here to go over your character before we get into our next combat, which is when the stuff tends to matter. I'm going to give you an opportunity to level up your character to 10. I have currently the map of Eternya itself kind of up on the screen there, and let me draw real quick where the royal city is. That's over around this area, right kind of in the middle of the bay. I think that's the proper term. I think that's technically a bay, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
That's where the royal city is. I'm also going to share with you a visual record of the library, because we're going to kind of have that up while we do some conversation, and I can also show you a picture of the royal city itself. But everyone's had a full rest. I went and did that between sessions, so I gave everyone a full rest, cleared out kind of all targets and effects and all that sort of thing. So we're back to square one. In the royal palace, everything is very, very quiet. Now, it was pretty quiet when you snuck into the city. It was really then that you realized that there's either everyone's hiding or there's not a lot of people left, at least in the center part of the city where you were. You were by the royal palace and the royal courtyard and all that. And when you got to the royal courtyard, although there were a few people in the stands, for the most part, they were just looking on in fear, or, in a few cases, supportive of it, while a bunch of prisoners were getting ready to have their life force sort of donated to the Queen and King, to put it nicely. So Lucretia has the matrix of leadership. Yes.
Yeah, I just yelled at him for that. I was like, no, don't you say that.
Yeah.
That's it. Almost gonna die.
Yeah, we've got a whole new line of action figures. It's going to be amazing. So, no. So ultimately then, we've got the group in a situation to figure out what to do next, although you are being called to the library, essentially to speak to the Queen's sister, presumably, and figure out what to do next. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions for me, or sort of things that would help you decide kind of... Do you want to perhaps see where the mantle of leadership goes? Do you want to perhaps take a proactive approach to this and declare yourselves the rulers? I mean, you've got options here. I don't know how it's going to play out, but you've got some options to consider.
I do have an intent to maybe have some rules or laws shuffled about a little bit. Just because of the more recent hypocrisies.
Yes. Like taking people in the middle of the night and sucking their souls into your royal self.
Yeah, I mean,
Like that. I was also just meaning, witches and magic and such being more legalized or at least not punishable by death and torture.
Yes.
Unless, it's used to commit other crimes.
Nice. So does anyone have any questions about kind of the plot to this point? I tried to recap it to the best of my ability at the start. I actually listened to most of our last number of sessions to kind of get both myself and everyone else up to speed and make sure I sort of crossed any T's and had a good sense of where we were headed here in the future. But I wanted to give everyone else a chance to do the same thing, if you'd like.
Is there anyone that we've, aside from obviously the king and the queen, who didn't make it through this? Like, what do we know about the captain of the guard? Obviously, the queen's sister is okay. Was anybody else that kind of fell in that battle?
It's likely, I mean, it seems likely that a lot of the royal kind of infrastructure had either been killed, absorbed, or joined along. So because there were people who were fighting you from the Queen's Guard during that last battle. So although it is likely that not everyone joined up with this. Some of them may have sacrificed their lives, some of them may have hidden, but at least the core of the city appears to be, I mean, it was pretty quiet and gutted. Probably most people were either inside or had already fled in the ensuing weeks and months prior to your entry into the city.
So I would say that anybody was like cool with this, that was like, yeah, let's sacrifice people. They should probably, go to jail or something. So that might be the first order of business to find out who all was involved with this and put them away.
Were
Yeah.
they undead at the time?
Right. Well, I mean, like, not against their will. If they were like, yeah, this is a great idea.
So the weird thing about it, though, is that, this world had been ruled by sort of an immortal king and queen, largely an immortal queen. And so the idea of sort of longevity and eternal rule by the ruler had really become the bedrock of the foundation of that government. And so now that the queen is actually dead, it's kind of hard to say, whether people were going along because they felt they had to. Maybe that is some stuff to pursue.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of didn't question it. I mean, we did, but not too deeply.
At
So,
some point, the stability of the world, the fact that it really did encompass most of the known world anyway, and just sort of the fact that it had been going on for as long as generations could think, right? For as long as there's been written records of the world, the queen was in charge. So, You are now in the library for meeting up with the queen's sister. The whole group is actually there. So you've got the queen's sister, Donut the Ancient, and then the kobold. There was a kobold inventor you met last time around who may be more interesting than useful sometimes. But the kobold is there as well. So we've got 3 people essentially to talk to here, with the Queen's Sister and Donut the Ancient, and the kobold, who you pick up the name, introduces himself finally. It says, "All right, about time we introduced ourselves here, since since everything's going on there. My name is Corpy Almost."
You do a terrible kobold voice.
Donut the Ancient is a very large giant, so he's sort of not in a chair, but rather kind of sitting under the staircase there. And then Corpy is, pretty small, so sitting there, but mostly the Queen's sister, a Z. Esnazarius Gludd, is the person who clearly has a leadership quality at this point. You've kind of been working with the Queen's sister. The Queen's sister was a close confidant to the Queen, although you learned that she herself had been estranged from the Queen as of late, and in fact helped lead the charge to take down the Queen once it became apparent what was going on.
so she's related to Sneezy.
Yes, as a matter of fact. So Z says, yes, as a matter of fact, hello there. That is my brother's son.
Oh.
Huh.
Well, unfortunately, it appears that if your brother is the Estenzarius that we know, he got himself chopped to bits by hags. So,
What?
Fortunately.
She looks at you stunned. I did not know that.
Yes, he has ceased to be. He tried to betray us to these hags, and they took him instead because he had stolen something from him. I can't remember what.
Stolen one of the hag's magical items, or at least according to the hag, and put it in the warehouse. Alright, so the Queen's sister basically says, okay, well, pretty soon, word is already starting to spread, certainly, right? There were people who were running away and who witnessed that battle. So before... Here's my thinking. We need to prevent, if at all possible, a complete civil war in the realm. I think we need leadership. I think we need consistency, and I think I know who to talk to. There's a person who is the longest serving counselor to the Queen. This person is not immortal, but they're pretty old. Last I know, they were at least 80 to 100 years old. They're a gnome, and they're a counselor. They know more than anyone I've ever met the rules of the realm, the bylaws, the books. Whenever legal advice was needed, this is who you would talk to. So my suggestion is that we find Granite the Memory. Granite is the name of the person. And you should be able to find them in the poorer sections of town. I can give you directions there and tell you where to find them. That's where I heard they last lived anyway. And they'll know what we actually have in Eternya as for rules of succession. So I think Granite might be the person to talk to.
Well, I don't want to, just want to make sure that we don't rely, just too heavily and just take him for granted. Sorry, I had to.
I name people these things on purpose. Yeah.
I actually do know that, yes.
Yeah. Me and Kojima, man. We're brothers. Brothers in naming.
So you trust this person?
I have to admit that I've never really been involved in the politics of the realm. As the Queen's sister, I was more of a confidant and a friend. But they certainly are the person the rest of the realm talk to in terms of the rules of the realm and, succession for counselors, succession for infrastructure positions. I mean, they're the person with the books. So my suggestion is you go to a part of the city, a poorer part of the city. The Granite tends to like to help the poor and lives among the poor. And so it would be likely that if they're anywhere, they would be over in that section of town. Okay. I will say, though, that you've been asleep, I've been asleep, but it's already come to my attention that some of the Queen's assassins, who for the out of character here, you guys know are those sort of ghostly assassins things, kind of demonic things that were following you, have spread out through the city, and there are still threats to be had. I don't think they plan to take over. I don't think they had a ruler other than the Queen, but it certainly isn't safe to walk the streets right now. However, you should be able to handle that just fine, I think.
Well, we've handled them before. I'm just having some trust issues lately, as you might understand. But yes, I agree. We should go speak with this person.
Why on earth would you have such problems?
I don't know.
All right. Well, it looks like we're settled then. In the meantime, pending an outcome of word from Granite, I believe I am as close as we're going to see to someone who can at least temporarily serve as a leader here. So
now,
I'm naming myself in charge pending further information. Now, I have no plans, and you kind of wonder if she's being honest here. I have no plans for the realm, but somebody needs to keep Eternya and the royal city intact, and maybe I should do it.
I am going to kind of give Lucretia and Maximilian a look which I think they will know me well enough to know. Yeah, speaking of trust issues, I don't know if I like the sound of this. I don't say it aloud, I just kind of give them a look, and I think they know me well enough to know what I'm talking about.
And I give you the agreement look.
Yeah.
Would you like us to bring this fellow to you to speak, or just we should speak with him wherever we find him?
I would find him as soon as possible. I would imagine relatively soon we might see some people gathering in the royal court. courtyard trying to figure out what's going on. Word certainly is going to spread that what had been happening is over. So the sooner we can get to Granite and have at least a voice of authority that can speak with me, perhaps, then maybe we can prevent whatever might happen.
Okay, let's go.
I mean,
Alright.
a regency makes sense, so people have got somebody to go to look at.
And they do know the Queen's sister. I mean, it's a very famous person in the realm, if nothing else. And if you'll recall, the Queen's sister was named the Queen's sister after performing a heroic duty for the Queen. You don't exactly know what that was. I mean, it's kind of vague about that. But this person is someone who is able and willing to fight and has some power. I mean, you saw her in battle against the King and Queen.
I mean, as long as she doesn't impose her diet on the city, it can hardly be worse than what was going on.
Well, we'll have to see about that, right? I mean, she does seem to be fairly into mishapitarianism, so.
It really becomes a logistical problem.
Like, imagine a whole city like that. Anywho, yes, let's set out.
For those who don't know, Mishapitarians are a sort of cultural group in Eternia who only eat food that dies of natural causes. Like if they die from a mishap, nothing is ever killed for consumption. And that doesn't just mean animals, that means plants too. Which leads to some pretty kind of questionable decision making as to how exactly you fall within those parameters, but you know. Alright, I am sharing a map with you here. You head out of the Royal Center and things are very quiet. The dawn is not yet peeking over the horizon, but it is starting to lighten up just a little bit, so it's sort of the quietest part of the morning. Normally, you would perhaps start to hear some courtyards, you'd start to see the guards come and do their shift changes, you'd perhaps start to see people setting up their markets. That's what you'd be used to. In this case, however, it's dead quiet. You see, as you make your way to a poorer section of the city, that some of the buildings are burned. Looks like they were torched. Some of the buildings were demolished. Looks like perhaps they were battered. And you do see some blood and signs of battle throughout some of the empty houses. You also see some homes that are very much locked up, presumably inside, in addition to outside. People, it looks like the city's not empty, but at least the center part of the city is mostly empty. Now, as you head over to the poorer section of the city, and so I don't just keep calling it that, let me go call up the map and show you where it is. So, if you look at A, that's sort of a large market area. The walled-in section to the east of that is really the Queen's Guard compound. That's the military headquarters, essentially, as it were, of the realm. And then that large open area to the northeast of that, right attached to it, is where the royal courtyard is. And then those sections around it are essentially royal houses, upper-class people, government operations places. There was a large governmental infrastructure involved in Queenkin here, because it really was the source of all government, largely, throughout the realm, outside of local boroughs and districts. They consolidated their power and were very loath to let people far away start to assume roles of government, under the concern, of course, that over time they would become the government rather than the people in charge at Queenkin. So it gets poorer as you head over to the public ward, over to the west. So you cross through the marketplace and see that although there are a few stalls up in a few places where people could set up shop, you don't actually see anyone setting up shop, which is incredibly unusual for a city of this size. Perhaps there aren't many people left anymore. However, as you start to head to the poorer part of the city, perhaps unsurprisingly, you do see signs of life. You know, these are largely people who work the docks, who work the fields, who aren't making a lot of money, and therefore didn't have the resources to necessarily abandon the city on a moment's notice. Perhaps they weren't able to leave either. You know, they're not always the kind of people who would be able to get through the guards, for example, if the guards had an order to prevent people from leaving. So you do start to see people hungry, somewhat scared, sometimes very scared. You see a lot of furtive looks, especially when they start to see members of the Queen's Guard, like yourself. You see a lot of people kind of scurrying away from you, windows battening down, and what have you. So you're heading over to kind of this western public ward wall, and I'm just going to make up an area here. We'll put you, let's just say you're roughly around here at this next section that we're going to do. It is all very quiet in the section of the map here. You hear some water from kind of a fetid bit of sewer, kind of used to clean the streets. It's kind of squishy, but at the same time, it does keep it from being a public sewer. Eventually, however, as you make your way over, you see an unwelcome sight off in a corner. Let me go and put up a couple of things into the combat tracker. And there we go.
I feel a roll for initiative coming on.
Indeed.
Does indeed mean roll for initiative?
Yeah, sounds good.
Also, the
look at my
party
big
track
mouth
or the party sheet is of a prior adventure and group.
The party sheet? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yep. I don't want to roll well. I want low numbers. Why? Why is initiative the only time I get 19s and stuff like that?
You sound like me.
Because you don't want it.
I don't want to go first.
You hear the unmistakable sounds of the Queen's assassins and a few yelps. Whether or not they're still trying to bring people to the Queen or just causing mayhem, it's hard to say. But at the very least, you've got some Queen's assassins flitting through the homes, and you hear some screams happening from that area.
Is one of the screams mine?
I mean, it could be, if you want.
Taviana, as a free action, screams in frustration at rolling a 19 on initiative.
I am setting up the combat tracker. Here's what's going on. All right. Start of combat is actually one of the Queen's assassins who flits through the 5, 10, 15, 20, and makes a beeline towards you, Maximilian, and attacks. Just straight up attacks.
Right.
I do have Aura of Courage up as well, but it's not programmed in yet, so that just means everybody within 10 feet of me cannot be frightened while I'm conscious.
Very good. That actually prevents a sort of surprise roll that is a part of these Queen's Assassins.
Yeah. So as soon as I get it programmed in, I'll put it up. The other two are already up. So.
Sure, no problem.
Well, that hit.
It hit? Well, that doesn't happen too often. All right. Well, you've been hit by a slam attack. And you take a few points of damage, pretty light damage. And then, however, let's see. A second attack, however, I need you to succeed on a DC 13 Dex save or be grappled.
And remember, I'm within 10 feet of Lucretia, so I add her charisma modifier to my saves. So I guess it's 15 or something close to that.
All right, cool. So you survive the life leech attack then. So we are next up on the combat tracker. That would be you, Tabiana.
Okay. I do not. I think I'm going to. To save spell slots, I'm going to go with the boring thing. Oh, I am holding down the wrong push-to-talk key. Oops. So none of you heard that. I have some pretty cool things I could use here, but, well, actually, let me see what. How many times can I use that? 3 times? Yeah. I'm gonna go with the boring and throw Sacred Flame.
All right.
At, whoops. Oh, got my fingers on the wrong keys. Let me actually roll it on the thing.
All right. The Queen's Assassin fails the save.
I mean, Assassin, I sort of like you because you beat me on the initiative roll, but I'm still gonna try to kill you.
7 points of damage.
I'm going to call it there for now, because like I said, I want to save all the good stuff for... We're going to need it more later.
All right. You've got another one of the Queen's Assassins that you hear off kind of behind some houses. You can't see the assassin, but you do hear sort of some screaming. You hear a crunch and the sound of bones breaking.
Oh no!
Yep. And someone very, very screaming in pain, cracking of bones, and kind of like they're almost like choked, like they suddenly are full, like drowning, is kind of what it sounds like. Maximilian, you're up.
All right. So I am going to try a new spell called Spirit Shroud. Let's see. It's a bonus action. You call for spirits of the dead, which flit around you for the spell's duration. Spirits are intangible and invulnerable, and they are good or evil, your choice. In this case, I'm going to make them good, and they will do extra damage when I hit a creature within 10 feet of me, and any creature your choice that you can see that starts a turn within 10 feet of you has its speed reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. Well, I only see one of these things, so that one.
So it has reduced speed.
Yep. It just moves 10 feet less per round.
Okay. And that's all it does? The effect?
Well, it does that, and every time I hit something within 10 feet of me, it does extra damage.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, I was like, that seems kind of weak for a spell. Yeah.
Especially
That seems like a
cast at
Tatiana
level.
spell. Tabiana. Not Tatiana. Jeez.
Probably not
An
that.
unfortunate miss.
Uh-oh.
And unfortunately, a second miss with that war pick.
Okay, then.
All right. You see, just crawling through the edge of between two buildings, someone on their hands and knees, severely injured. It looks like a leg is just kind of dragging behind them at a weird angle, kind of screaming there. Perhaps someone to help if possible. All right, you see, coming around the corner here, between sort of a little bridge-like area and a house. This is, I think, technically water, but I'm calling it a watery passage. It's basically a street, except that they keep it flooded because it's also used for sewage. Not too fun, but there you go. Kind of coming out towards you. A commoner you hear, over here, they're over here. Perhaps trying to get you to help them out. Assassin 3 is back, looking at you, Maximilian, and is going to do another slam attack.
Okay.
That is a miss. Another assassin here is going to... You hear sounds of battle coming from a ways away. Another sickly crunch. And the person who was saying, over here, suddenly cuts off. Lucrezia.
Well, it's unfortunate. Okay. If I can grab my token instead of just the whole map. Oh, that's Tabiana. Doy. No wonder I can't move it. Okay. I guess I will attack this one.
All right, you run up to the ghostly figure. It's like they're ghostly, but it's almost like they're made of water, kind of a slimy water as well. It's sort of weird. They're like half there and half not there. You hit.
Lame.
Yeah, unfortunately, not too much damage.
Second attack. Alright, this fight's going well.
It's early in the morning. What do you expect? Commoner 2 is continuing to crawl towards you, but not getting far, and they're almost dead. All right, so one thing that I'm going to do for this next section of the campaign for the foreseeable future is give Tabiana control of Ghost Esnazarius Jr. So, there may be times, keep in mind Ghost Esnazarius Jr. is a cat, so sometimes I'm going to take over Ghost Esnazarius Jr. and they're going to do whatever the heck they want to do. But for now, Tabiana, what would you like Ghost Esnazarius Jr. to do?
First of all, Sneezy, be very, very careful and don't get hurt. What are Sneezy Jr.'s capabilities?
They have a claw attack
Oh, I think a claw attack might be nice.
and keen smell. And they can move 40 feet. They can climb 30 feet. They have an AC of 12.
Probably don't want to use that keen smell too much right now.
Yeah, doesn't sound like it. Let me just check one thing on the party sheet. Party sheet on the combat tracker. Okay, so we're all healthy.
Yeah, everyone's at full health minus Maximilian did take a hit.
In that case, Sneezy, see that guy trying to hurt Max? Stick your claws on him. Good kitty.
All right, so Ghost Nest Azarius Jr., who really does not like these Queen's Assassins, is more than willing to attack. So, let's see. I think I might have to do the attack. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if he's not even on the party sheet, I don't think you can give control of him to me.
Unfortunately, it's a miss.
Okay, does Sneezy know how to disengage? Can he disengage now without provoking an attack of opportunity?
No, as a matter of fact, that would not be possible.
Okay.
Well, it could be possible, because they can kind of appear and disappear sometimes. But in this particular case, they're staying put.
Be careful, Sneezy. Block.
All right, we are back to the top of turn order. And for the benefit of those in the group, or who, the audience who might not be aware, I have it set to re-roll initiative at the start of every turn. I like it because it offers a little bit of the chaos of combat rather than sort of a strict turn order that just persists over and over. I like the idea of someone maybe jutting ahead and being able to counter an attack, things like that. And so that's why I do it. So initiative's going to get automatically re-rolled essentially at the start of every turn. The Queen's Assassin comes up to that commoner that's crawling on the ground and makes a slam attack, crushing that skull, and they just sit still on the ground. Dead.
As a cleric, I really wish there was something I could do for the commoners, but I can't see blowing on my spell slots to save them when we may be called upon to need to save our own skins in the very near future.
That could be.
I mean, Jerry's already killed me in this campaign once, so...
You hear the sound of running coming towards you. That one is dead. Queen Assassin 3 is the one that's attacking. Maximilian is going to continue to do so. However, that is a fortunate miss. Maximilian, you're up.
Good. Maybe I can not miss in my turn. That's much better.
All right, that is a hit.
Nice.
All right, heavy 18 points of damage. And, yeah. The second one is also a hit.
Oh, great.
And you have taken out the Queen's Assassin.
Nice.
You got anything else for me? You want to move?
And that's it.
All right. You hear continued sound of struggle from between the buildings to your north. You hear a scream, a crunch.
Oh, those crunches are hard to hear.
And all is silent. Tabiana.
Okay. Tabiana is thinking. So how many times? Okay, I've got 4 of those slots. So why are level 1 spells so crappy? I am going to move up here next to Lucretia.
All right.
And I am going to... I actually guess I didn't have to move up there. Oh, shoot. Nope, I can't do that. Okay, let's go with something else. I am going to put a spiritual weapon in the block immediately north of Queen's Assassin 2. Oh, and that's a bonus action, so I can still do something else. And I don't know how to, if you want to, like, drag a
Yeah,
token
I
on
need
there.
to find a token for that thing again. Let me go find that.
And meanwhile, while you're finding a token, I'm going to go ahead and see if I hit.
That is a hit.
I'm helping! I really don't want to use anything above a level 2 spell right now. I keep forgetting that spiritual weapon is a bonus action. I'm going to call that my turn.
Can't remember where I was. There we go. Rule set, maybe?
Oh, actually, I can cast Sacred Flame as an action. So let me before that be my turn. Let me throw a Sacred Flame on him too.
There we go. I'll call it a
As
G.
my action.
That is a... It's... fails to save.
Cool. Thanks for failing your save, dude. Oh, I'm putting it directly north of him if that matters. Or basically so it'll hit him and not us.
Yep.
Ooh, 10 more.
All right, 10 points of damage. Looking pretty good.
Wow, he's actually taken a lot of damage and he's still too healthy. And that is my turn.
All right. So you see one of the Queen's assassins kind of slither out between 2 buildings, and then it almost looks like they sort of meld into the water.
Well, that seems unlikely to be good.
All right. Ghost Esnazarius Jr., however, sees where the Queen's assassin was and runs up and pounces on it with a claw attack.
Go, Sneezy! Come on, Sneezy!
Good kitty.
You are so getting temptations when this is over.
And hits. Only does 1 point of damage. Yeah.
He's helping. He's still getting fancy feasts and temptations when the fight's over. I'll need you to add those to my inventory, by the way.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how to make a NPC sheet of Sneezy Jr. so that we can have you more fully take over the character. But I kind of like the idea. It is a cat, right? Cats don't really do what you want most of the time anyway. So I kind of like the idea of occasional control being taken away from you with it. Okay. You see, where was that? Oh yeah, the assassin in front of you, Lucrezia, makes a slam attack. That is a miss.
Dodge.
Lucrezia, your turn.
Alrighty. I'll swipe back at him and probably miss.
Nope, that's a hit.
Hey.
Yay! Go, Lucretia!
All right. partially resisted damage.
Second one.
Also a hit.
And damage. Yeah, a little better.
Oh, yep. Also partially resisted. It looks like it might be largely only kind of affected by your weapons.
Yeah.
Suddenly, from the puddle behind you, Tabiana,
Okay.
the Queen's Assassin pops up and does a slam attack.
As a reaction, I will cower in terror.
Oh, rolled a 1. All right.
The cowering works.
All right, we're back to Sneezy Jr. I'll let you decide what you want to do.
Get him, Sneezy, get him!
All right.
I think the claw
Runs up.
attack is in order.
That is an unfortunate miss.
That's okay, Sneezy. Good kitty.
All right, the assassin that just attacked you, Lucrezia, is going to follow up with another attack.
Bummer.
Oh, there we go.
Was that? Did it roll 2 1s in a row on me?
Yeah, it did
That's
indeed.
perfect.
Yeah, it works out pretty good there. All right, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20. And again, you see one of the Queen's assassins kind of slurp between the buildings and then meld into the puddle on the ground. This one, however, just moves forward and tries to kill Sneezy.
Don't you dare.
With a miss, Cat jumps out of the way.
Good boy.
Lucrezia.
Okie dokie, let's try this again.
That's a hit.
Just keep rolling 8. He keeps rolling 1, and I keep rolling 8. I guess that works.
All right. Took some more damage. I mean, kind of hard to tell, but somewhat wounded.
Oh,
All right. Even hit on a 7.
nice. With some better damage.
Yeah, indeed. Maximilian, you're up.
All right.
Oh no, unfortunate miss. Not that one, though. That is a full-on
Nice.
hit. All right. So that's going to do a whole bunch of radiant damage as well. Nice. And it is
Ooh.
down.
Excellent.
Woohoo!
And then I'll move.
Remind me what the G is.
That's the spiritual weapon.
Ah, okay.
Oh, okay, so it's not a guard.
Yeah,
No,
I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out what G meant.
It's the first letter I could find. I should find some cross swords or make a cross swords token for the spiritual weapon. But I know Tabiana also actually is turning almost, in terms of character-wise, into a bit of a summoner because she's also got spiritual guardian and all the other kind of summoned guardian type spells all the way up to level 5, so. Alright, you hear running and splashing as the commoner runs right behind the Queen's assassin, sees the party attacking, and decides to try to attack with basically a piece of wood.
Go,
What?
Commoner.
That is a brave commoner.
And hits.
Ooh,
Wow.
good hit.
Doing a little bit of damage.
You're helping.
Give him a round of applause.
Tabiana, you're up.
Or her.
Okay, I just really want to use this. I am going to channel Divinity, Radiance of the Dawn. I pick up my holy symbol, which is shaped like a cat, of course. And I hold it up. And if there were any magical darkness, it would be dispelled. But also, these suckers all need to make a con saving throw.
All right. Let me put
Yep.
the assassins. Oh, is it creatures you can see? I believe so, right?
Each hostile creature within 30 feet of me.
Okay. There we go. Let me make the one visible
A
then
creature
briefly.
that has a creature that has total cover from me is not affected.
All right. There we go.
Okay, so
I bet you need to click on the effect on that, because I bet your save is better than 8.
yeah, I blame Jerry. He programmed it.
I didn't program anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
he put it in there. Let me put it that
Yeah.
way.
Just hit the magnifying glass next to it, and
Yep.
you'll probably change it.
Save con DC 8. DC 8? That can't be right.
It should at least be, I
That's
would
what I'm
think, 8 plus your proficiency bonus, plus your stat bonus.
Yeah, so it's at least 12 plus whatever your wisdom modifier is.
8 plus 3 is 11. It's my stat bonus, and my proficiency bonus
Is
is
4?
4. So it would be 15.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, let me program that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not letting me. It is not letting me change the con DC 8. So
I bet
Okay.
if you go
I can
to
take care of that then.
So basically, 5 and 4 take damage, correct?
Let me just real quick fix that, and then we'll have you re-roll it.
Okay. Maybe they'll roll worse the second time around.
I mean, that's what I'd
We
hope.
can hope.
You said there's a total bonus of 7, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. There we go.
Ah, there we go. Okay.
All right. That makes a difference. First one failed. Assassin 1 failed. And
Oh, I just rolled on them all. So.
Assassin 4 failed, so all 3 failed.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll say 27 points of damage, 21 points of damage, 23 points of damage. That'll help.
As my bonus action, I am going to take this spiritual weapon. And actually, if I put it there, I would hit Lucretia too.
I'm alright.
You can move it up to 30 feet, right? I think.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not hitting one of us with it.
Okay.
So I'll move it there, and Queen's Assassin number 1.
All right. Oh. Automatic miss, unfortunately.
Bummer.
All right.
That's my turn.
Yeah, right. You probably don't want to move, so.
No, I would provoke an attack of opportunity for sure.
All right. The Queen's Assassin is going to turn around to the commoner that just hit it.
Sorry, Commoner.
Whips sort of a watery, sludgy arm around. There's a crack. Their neck moves in a very unusual way, unfortunately, and they crumple to the ground.
Ah, we never knew ye.
All right.
Leave the icon there. I have an idea.
Okay. I'll have to put it back, but that's fine.
Zombies.
Yeah, Sneezy Jr.
Let's see. Sneezy, I would like you to attack the assassin of your choice of 1 and 4.
All right. I'm going to attack
Probably
one.
whichever one has fewer hit points.
Unfortunate miss.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sneezy.
Maximilian.
Okay, move up a little bit.
That's a hit. For 16 points of damage. Oh no. Another one. We're very one prone tonight, aren't we? And that's just an auto miss. Okay, the Queen's Assassin is turning to you, Tabiana, and doing a slam attack. Ooh, that's a hit.
Ow.
For 8 points of damage, however, you also need to make a dex save.
Oh, you're rolling it for me? Okay.
Yep. And you succeeded, thankfully. So you're not grappled or restrained or other things that are bad. It's your turn.
Okay, sucker. Let's... Shoot, I have disadvantage if I cast Scorching Ray at him from this distance, don't I?
Yes. Although you could attack Assassin 5 without that.
That's true. Although, that's tempting. Although, man, getting this guy who's attacking me is also tempting. Yeah, I'm going to use my Scorching Ray on number 5. Ray number 1.
Alright, unfortunate miss.
Ray number 2.
That's a hit. For 9 points of damage.
And Ray number 3.
That's a hit as well.
Big money, big money!
Yeah, and it's down.
Yes!
That was Assassin 5.
I've made it onto the XP report.
Nice. You're gonna have the spiritual weapon?
No, the spiritual weapon is still on Assassin number 1, who is still alive. So I'm going to leave that where it is, because if I moved it, I would risk hitting one of us.
No, but I mean it can attack, right, as a bonus?
Oh! Yes, that's on the assassin's turn, though, not mine, isn't it?
No, it's on yours.
Yep,
Is
on
it on
yours.
mine?
Yep.
Okay. I had that mixed up with something else. Now I can't find spiritual weapon. Seriously, I can't find... Where's my spiritual weapon spell? There it is. Was hiding up.
Man.
Well, it is early in the morning, so, you know, automatic miss.
I
Welcome
am
aboard.
Tabiana, much like myself, just not a morning person. Or morning halfling.
And I'm assuming you're not going to move.
No, I do not need to provoke an attack of opportunity.
All right, Lucrezia,
minute.
you're up.
You said halfling? So you have halfling luck?
Oh, that's right. That's absolutely right. You do have
I
halfling
rolled
luck.
a 1. Let's
Well,
re-roll.
except that was a spiritual weapon that attacked.
Oh.
So I'm going to say the spiritual weapon doesn't have halfling luck. Probably, right? I mean, it's a little
know.
splitting
I guess
hairs.
that's up to you. I guess.
Yeah, I guess that would be a DM's call. If I were the DM, it would.
Yeah, all
Well-
right, that's fine. Sure, go for it. Go for
It
it.
does
Yeah,
use your stats.
yeah, because it does use your stats. Go
That's
for it.
true.
Yeah.
That's more like it.
All right, that's a hit. All right, and it too is down. You've taken out Queen's Assassin 1 there. That leaves only 1 left, and your turn, Lucrezia.
Well, let's see if we can take this out.
Not with a modified 10.
Nope.
There we go.
That'll
with a
do
hit.
it.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna just pop a smite into it. So
I totally heard that as I'm just gonna pop a smurf.
well. Okay. I just hit the effect. Is that
It looks like
I
it
just
it
roll
applied.
the damage?
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
Very nice. 21 points of damage. Still alive, though.
Was that my first attack? Oh, that was my second attack because the first one missed, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's me.
All right, Tabiana, you're up.
Okay. So I've got this guy sitting right here. I am going to move my spiritual weapon. Whoops. Like that. And I think I'm going to start out by letting him take some damage from my spiritual weapon, because if it hits and it kills him, I won't need to use any spell slots.
Yep. That is a hit.
Come on, spiritual weapon. Oh. Huh, I actually rolled the wrong thing, actually. I accidentally rolled Scorching Ray damage instead of spiritual weapon last time. Oops.
Yeah.
Why is this not rolling? Oh, because I was trying to roll the damage on the spiritual weapon and not on the guy.
Nice.
All right, it is indeed down.
Yes.
The street is once again quiet. You do see someone, one of the commoners in front of you. Dead. They're kind of in the middle of death saves.
Can I granted my turn is over, but could I throw a spare the dying on them?
Yeah, because we're post combat. You can throw a spare the dying.
I don't see their icon, but I will throw a spare the dying.
Yeah, that just happens. We're just going to say it happens here. So the commoner is no longer dying, is unconscious, however.
I will put cure light or cure wounds into him, and it will do 8 points.
All right, well, they're back to full health. They're like, that's a miracle! An absolute miracle!
Drag him off to the.
Thank you for your help. Please go to your home and stay safe.
I will!
Lock the doors, bar the windows.
Yeah, spread the word if you can, but go straight to your home and get your family. And
Who are
everyone.
you? Who are you?
Well, I guess we're not the Queen's Guard or Queen's hunters anymore. So we're here to help the city. And just go with that.
Thank God, it has been so terrible. For months, I thought we were all doomed.
We're sorry. We didn't know. We came as soon as we heard.
Praise you! Praise you!
Well, thank you for your help.
All right, well, they're kind of hanging out. They sort of just want to be near the people who are killing everything that's near them. So, they're
Okay.
not exactly willing to run away.
Why don't you lead us to your home, and we'll escort you.
Okay, yeah, they actually live nearby.
Have you seen? I've forgotten the name.
Granite.
Granite. Have you seen Granite?
Oh
We are
yeah.
actually on a mission
Well, I haven't
to-
seen him lately, but everyone knows Granite.
Do you know where he might be?
Well, he's usually over, kind of by the ruined part of the city, just a couple blocks that way. He sort of points southward.
Thank you very much. Take him to his house.
Yeah. When you go into the house, you notice that although clearly not off very well, there is another person there, a partner that is with them, along with 2 children who do not appear to be biologically their own, just due to the way kind of they look. They don't look anything like their parents, right? But they are clearly taking care of a few people in the home.
Well, I don't have any coin listed on my character, but if I have some, I will give them a little bit.
Same. And also, like, what kinds of, do we have some extra food we could give them?
Yeah, I mean, you've got rations if you want, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good
Under
idea.
my treasure, it says -5. So I'm guessing I have, I not only don't have any coin, I apparently owe somebody 5 copper.
I have to admit, I tend to hand wave most coin in my role-playing games unless it's relevant. I just find coin systems of purchasing to be
Yeah.
generally useless.
We'll just
but-
give them a reasonable amount of coins and
Yeah.
some rations and stuff, and tell them to stay safe. Spread the word that we're here, trying to help, and for people to stay in their homes until we can get rid of these assassins.
I will spread the word. Tell everyone to stay in their homes. Yeah, nicely done there. That makes a lot of sense. Hopefully, I mean, they were mostly hiding out anyway, but that is nice. You just did a favor for them. So are you gonna kind of head on south then?
Yeah, go
Yep.
to where he told us about.
Yep.
Or she.
I am going to contribute some rations as well.
We swap maps here.
It's also reasonable that we haven't worried about money since we haven't needed it as representatives.
Yeah, exactly. I just tend to play with people who have a standard amount of coin to mess with. But if it becomes relevant in the campaign, like you're trying to buy something, then we'll deal with
Well,
money.
I think that's sort of a situation where, your pocket change is more than they make in a year. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Technically, that spiritual weapon, what's the duration of the spiritual weapon? It's a minute? Is that right?
That's a good question.
I think it's a minute.
1 minute, yep.
Alright, so it goes away about the time that you reach the ruins here.
I have a question. As long as we were, well, no, we wouldn't want to hang out there for 4 or 8 hours. And I haven't used that many spell slots, so I was thinking of asking if we took at least a short rest while we were there. But I don't want to hang out at this poor commoner's house for 8 hours because then they'll be tempted to feed us using the rations we just gave them, and that
Well,
wouldn't
short
be
rest
right.
is only an hour.
Oh, why am I thinking 4 hours? But even so, I think I'm good on spell slots. I think I've only used 2 second levels.
Well, I have 2 slots to have, so.
And plus, we wouldn't get spell slots back after a short rest.
But I would.
Do you? I thought it was only
Yep,
a long
yep.
rest. You would? Everybody would, or just you?
I do. If you've got a turn attempt left, you can use it to get a certain amount of spells back, and that's for both of you.
Yeah.
Spell levels.
No, I don't want to impose on them. I want to give them some food, give them a couple of coins, and let them get back to hiding and hopefully safety.
I agree.
Who wants to be in the lead here? Would that be you, Maximilian?
Oh, not me.
Probably Maximilian, yeah.
That's what I would assume too. So after, like I said, about a minute of just walking through what appears to be still a very quiet and buttoned down part of the city, you come across a area that is both run down but also damaged, is the best way to describe it. Let me see if I can share the map. Alright, so you see what amounts to a small market. Now this is not a market for the wealthy, which is what you're used to. You yourself are part of the wealthier part of government. This is a poorer person's market. This is where you get staples at the lowest possible cost, medicine at the lowest possible cost, maybe the lowest possible quality in some cases as well. But clearly a market that is being used by people in the neighborhood. However, the buildings around it have clearly been the scene of a mix of they're falling apart, they're ruined, and, in some cases, clearly recently burned as well. You see what appears to be a very dark-skinned gnome sitting by a tent with some, honestly, half-rotten vegetables, half-rotten potatoes, but a group of people who have lined up to receive some basic rations.
Sir, are you aware that you're selling vegetables that could make these people sick? Is that because you're not able to get anything better for them to eat?
Strangely enough, the commoners, when you say that to them, and you're a little ways away. You're talking from like 30 feet away. Are you walking up to them?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to do that then. When you say that, the commoners look at you rudely. They are not. They're like, who the hell is this person, essentially? While the darker skinned gnome there says, I am not selling anything.
Oh, you're giving the food away?
Yeah, apparently.
Then I applaud your efforts.
And who are you? And why are members of the Queen's Guard here?
Wait, so he knows we were part of the Queen's Guard?
Recognizes your outfits, if nothing else.
There is no longer a Queen's Guard.
I'm going to sort of whisper. I'm going to just sneak back here behind Lucretia and Max, so I'm sort of out of super close earshot of the conversation. Do you think they know that the Queen is dead?
Probably not.
Do you think we should be the ones to tell them?
Probably not. Do you happen to have the ability to purify food and water?
I could probably get it.
Probably.
Yeah, you'd have to memorize it.
Right.
But it is level 1. You couldn't memorize it right now, unfortunately, if you don't have it memorized already.
I do not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're looking for granite. Is that correct?
He issues a chuckle. Well, you found him.
Excellent.
Somehow I knew that was going to happen.
We have important things to discuss. Meanwhile, we will help you disperse this food.
All right. It takes quite some time. It's well into the morning by the time you're done. It appears that you've helped somewhere in the range of 50 people. And as the morning progresses, this takes a couple of hours, really, as it seems clear that what's going on here is a periodic distribution of free food to the poor that's being organized by Granite. And as people are picking up food, this is the kind of place where you're going to hear people give the latest news. And people are saying that they heard strange sounds from the city center last night, stranger than the usual screams of pain. It seemed to be a night with very few people taken.
Did you say very few people taken?
Yeah, like taken to the center of the town. Probably normally it would be the middle of the night that presumably people would be whisked from their homes.
So people were not getting taken last night?
That seems to be what the rumors are.
That's interesting. We certainly saw ample evidence that, at least until very recently, there were at least 5 assassins running about the city.
Yes, those foul creatures have been here for months.
Well, there are 5 less of them, 5 fewer of them now.
Great. Well,
Jerry.
why? I guess I would say it again. You know, you're saying as you're distributing food, Granite turns to you and says, "Why are the Queen's Guard here?"
We followed the cat.
You've been mostly, here to take people, enforce order, and I don't know, cause the darkness that's infested this city for months now.
We are former members of the Queen's Guard.
Specifically, hunters. But we were out doing business, and we came back to all of this.
Yeah, I should just clarify for those who maybe missed at the front. The Queen's Guard is the name of the overarching, essentially, security force for the realm, and the Queen's Hunters are sort of the monster hunter and judge contingent that goes out and enforces order.
So, Jerry, during all of this, we're here all day.
You're here through most of the morning. If you're going to be helping to feed people, you've
I'm going to
got,
be here for 8
dozens.
hours because what I am doing is the worst of the vegetables. I'm taking the seeds from them and planting them all around here and doing a 8-hour ritual of plant growth. You enrich the land. All plants in a half-mile radius centered on a point within the range become enriched for 1 year. The plants yield twice the normal amount of food when harvested.
Whoa. All
And
right.
so I will do that and let anybody, like if there's kids around, I'll get them to help me plant as many seeds as we can, that kind of thing.
Oh, I will absolutely help you plant seeds as well. Sneezy, can you use your claws and dig furrows to put the seeds in and then scrape the dirt back over them to plant them?
Sneezy looks at you and then continues to lick his paw.
I thought you were going to say butt, but okay.
I considered it, but no.
First one, then the other.
Is there an ensnaring strike reason here, or are you just rolling by
No,
accident?
I
Okay.
clicked the wrong thing.
Okay, no problem. All right, so we are about halfway through tonight's session, and I want to give everyone a chance to get up and stretch, take a break, what have you. So this seems like about as good a place as any to do so before we head into the next section. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching D&D Night on DDOstream. We'll be back in 5. Sounds good. All right, welcome back, everyone, to D&D Night on DDOstream, right here on twitch.tv/DDOstream. Also, thank you so much, Dogor80, for the raid. I really appreciate that. Really nice to see everyone. Every Sunday night, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on DDOstream, we do tabletop Dungeons & Dragons by and for DDO players. Tonight, we are doing part 1 of our next 3-part story arc taking place in the world of Eternya, where this group recently ended the hundreds and hundreds of years eternal reign of the Queen, who had beheaded the king in order to achieve that power. So it's the morning after, essentially, a gigantic change for the realm. Much of the city doesn't even, apparently, know what's going on. They'd been living in fear for months, as really the queen and king started working their way into lichdom and started essentially sucking away the lives of the people around them in the city. They were in the wealthy part of town, though. You're now in the poorer part of town. The poorer part of town still has people in it, maybe in part because they were unable to leave. One thing you've kind of learned through the morning here while helping with a free food distribution to the poor is that over the last month or so in particular, a new edict had come down to prevent the exit of people from the city. There was rumors being spread throughout the city that there were intruders at the gate, intruders at the border, that leaving the city was unsafe. That morphed into leaving the city is not allowed. And for these commoners who have often been under the thumb of perhaps others in the city, it was a very difficult position as they saw their friends and family disappear in the middle of the night, unknown what was happening to them. Now, you know as a group what was happening to them as their life force was essentially being used to fuel the continued existence of the Queen after the magical power that had kept the Queen alive was disrupted, potentially by you, in defeating the Great Tree. Although maybe that's not a bad thing, huh?
I'm beginning to lean in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, this was a world ruled by fear. It's a very large area. Part of what I'm thinking in my head here is, if, I have always found Roman history to be fairly interesting, in part, because of just how far across that section of the world the Roman Empire ended up spreading. And then some of the challenges they face as a result when the amount of physical distance becomes so far away that you run the risk of no longer having a cohesive realm. That is also kind of largely what had been going on. But that means also that things can happen in the city, and it can take a year plus to reach the edges of the realm. All right, so we're back.
If it ever gets there.
Yeah, if it ever gets there, right. So let's back. We're back, everyone. We are going to go till probably a little bit before 10 o'clock here tonight. And we did just kind of have a food distribution. And on top of that, Lucrezia created a center of what appears to be a new community garden for long-term health of the people in this area. By the end of the 8 hours that you spent doing all that work, you very much earned the respect, it appears, from one Granite the Memory. Granite the Memory is a dark-skinned gnome who is known as one of the most knowledgeable councils of city and realm law. They're essentially the city attorney, if you can think of a city attorney kind of role in this area, where they're the keeper of the books, the keeper of all the edicts, and it's their job really to know what's going on. Now, you learned when going to the poorer area that, in fact, because of the structure of government, they have largely spent their time working to help the poor, presumably because of their own passion to do so. But that is their role. And Granite is very much interested in kind of learning what you know about what happened.
Well, once we can get him a little more out of earshot of everyone, then we can start telling him.
Exactly. So after the morning's distribution, um, you kind of have your choice. Would you rather go speak to him, say, privately in a building somewhere, or take him back to where um, the Queen's sister is, back in the Royal Center? You know, the Queen's sister did say ultimately grab Granite and bring him back here.
Perhaps one and then the other.
Yeah, because I'm not entirely sure I trust the Queen's sister.
We could always walk and talk.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you do walk and talk, and we're just going to kind of, we're not really using a map here per se, but I will say this, that between the one commoner whose life you saved, who's already been spreading the word that really a savior is here, and the fact that you've been distributing food for free for 8 hours in this area, you've got a crowd. You've got a crowd kind of walking with you. They are thrilled that it looks like, you know, perhaps this big national nightmare is over to some extent. And they're walking with you, distance behind. I mean, it's not a mob yet. Could be, though.
Like, how far behind are we going to be able to talk to Granite confidentially?
I mean, that's up to you. If you're basically tell whoever's in charge is like,
I
hey,
will
give us some
leave
space here, right?
Tabiana and Max with him, and I will fall back to the crowd and start talking about the spell that I did, the plant growth, and letting them know, like, who here is interested, like, were you a farmer? Who can I put in charge of forming teams to, utilize this area, yada yada, like basically getting them in a big group that we're kind of walking, but we're conversing amongst ourselves so they're not actually listening to what they're talking about.
Yeah, sounds good. There are, part of what a lot of the poorer part of the realm was doing is farming for the wealthier people in town, along with themselves. So yeah, you've actually got some farm knowledge and self-sufficiency, and definitely people willing to work on the Crisia's garden.
Yeah.
Which is what
And
they're
I
already
let him know
calling it.
this is a free garden, community garden. There's not to be any profiteering from it or hoarding of it or keeping people from it. It's for everyone. Everyone can come plant seeds here. Everyone can get the produce, work together to make sure it stays watered, yada yada yada.
Yeah, they're absolutely thrilled. So when it comes to Granite, he is like, what can you tell me about what actually happened? What has happened in the city to lead you to be here this morning?
I look at Max and kind of raise my eyebrows like, should we tell him the Queen's dead?
Oh yeah, no, but we won't lead in that manner.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned before, we were of the Queen's Hunters, and we were sent far to the north to deal with an errant village, wherein we came upon some strange magical things, which we destroyed. And upon our coming back to civilization, we got redirected to um, a warehouse. But from that point on, we learned of changes that were happening throughout the kingdom.
Yes, 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 it does indeed look that people have been disappearing, and I myself have not dared to get near the royal courtyard. From what I've seen, everyone who went into that part of the city did not come back.
Well, we were there last night,
Well, I guess I'm wrong.
and it will be much calmer today.
Okay, what did you see? You may be one of the first I've known to go into the city, the middle city, and survive.
The king and queen were there.
God bless the king and queen.
And they were feasting.
Strange that they'd have a large feast and not announce it.
They brought people there with personal invitations that could not be refused.
That is a very different, I don't know what I expected. Perhaps mass hangings, perhaps slave labor, perhaps, I don't know. Not that, though.
Those all would have been better invitations.
He has a puzzled look on his face.
It was a great feast of many people, but only the king and queen were feasting, and none would leave when it was over.
And what when it's over?
None but the king and queen would leave when it was over.
He stops in his tracks and looks at you. He says, "They were eating people?"
In a manner of speaking, yes. Not the
Soylent
flesh.
Green is people. Sorry.
He just kind of looks at you dumbfounded, like, what are you saying? How is that even possible? That's just so foreign, like, the concept.
The king and queen were not the king and queen as you had remembered them. They had been changed and transformed into beings of endless hunger.
And what happened to the king and queen? They're presumably back at the royal palace?
No, they are wherever all pass after life has left them.
He gasps. Do you mean to say the queen is...
I mean
I'm
to say
afraid so.
that we have new things to discuss and old things to remember, and that's why we're bringing you here, so that we can establish order.
Ah, a flash of recognition in his eyes. I am here for a reason then. Well,
Yes.
you have found the right person. I am indeed. Granted the memory, it is my job, as a matter of fact, in the realm to know these things. Let me grab a few books. We may have to take a quick detour. He does have you take a detour to his house, which, while not in the poorest part of the city, is deliberately not in the wealthier part of the city as well. And he says, it may be that is why I'm alive today.
And I was speaking that way to help throw off the commoners behind us.
I see. Clearly. This is an unprecedented event. I don't know that... Do we even have rules for this? And he goes, can you stay here? Can you stay here? And he goes up to like his upstairs, and you start hearing kind of shuffling and all that sort of thing. And he comes down with a large stack of books, thousands of pages, and he says, I might need a little help bringing this to the palace.
Well, luckily we got that strength.
Perhaps the palace is not where we should go, at least right away. We were told to seek you out by the Queen's sister. I believe that she is seeking to establish her own rule over Queenkin now.
He sort of strokes his chin and goes, maybe the Queen's sister does have succession. I don't know. But how is he? Is he survived?
Yes, she assisted us last evening.
You see some relief. Now that is a relief. I rarely had an opportunity to meet the Queen, but I've met Z quite a few times, and she is a very, very talented, amazing person. All right, so he says, well, I need... Is it safe to go to the royal palace right now?
The safest it's been in several months, I imagine.
Well, then let's go. I have a job to do.
Meanwhile, I'm getting into as boring a detail as possible about how, like, peppers propagate and trying to bore these people to the point of dispersing.
Unfortunately, if anything but, the sound of the crowd, which is not a sound that people have been hearing a whole lot of lately, has done nothing but strengthen the number of people who are there. by the time you head toward the middle city, you've got a crowd of a couple hundred strong there.
Excellent.
Well, you are the queen's voice.
I have a feeling that Lucretia is about as happy about this as I was about rolling that 19 on my first initiative.
All right. Let me bring up a couple of maps here. Let's see.
The good news is we're pretty charismatic batch of 3.
So I will, we don't have to go into it, but I will be trying to kind of set up a commoner structure, like Joe Bob's in charge of this, and
Yeah, there is enough people clearly who are able to attend this garden that they're excited. They're very excited for what's happening here. So, all right, for now, I'm going to move you into the internal tower as you get toward the city, but by the time you get to the royal courtyard, like I say, you've got a couple hundred strong. There are still members of the Queen's Guard, that are in existence. It looks like while you've been gone, and note that you've been gone more than 8 hours, that Z and crew have kind of taken charge. You at least you saw Donut at one point talking to members of the Queen's Guard who were blocking visitor entry to the royal palace. So, at least at the moment, it looks like Donut might be in charge of the Queen's Guard. Or at least able to issue orders.
It makes sense. Somebody's got to, be there to tell people what to, how to handle things when suddenly everything's different.
Yep. All right, so you get into the tower itself, and do you want to go up to kind of where Z is and all that sort of thing? You want to go back to that library? Do you want to do something else?
That seems like a good idea. And that way we have access to that library. Granite's books. We can
seems like a good place to carry a big pile of books.
Yeah, I'm still not entirely sure that I really trust Z all that much, despite Granite seeming to be pretty happy about the prospect of her taking charge.
I mean, Z was a famous warrior, so everybody knows who the Queen's sister is because it's an honorary title for one, also a close confidant to the Queen. So clearly, someone you want to know if you want to get the ear of the Queen, but also someone who is known as a hero.
I will say goodbye to my loyal followers and tell them to spread the word.
All right, they're spreading the word. You heard things about the Dark Night is over? I guess that's what they're calling it, is the Dark Night?
Interesting.
It's Batman.
Yeah. All right, so Granite goes into the study and says, I need some reading time here. So he shuts the door and just starts, as far as you can tell, doing a little bit of research. What would you like to do?
So Z's not in here, or not in the same place.
No, Z is back in the royal chambers. There is actually essentially a guest chamber that is set up for the Queen's sister in the royal palace. It's sort of a mini house where the Queen's sister can stay when visiting the Queen, and that's where Z is currently encamped.
Is Sneezy still with us, Sneezy Jr.?
Yes and no. You see Sneezy around, but Sneezy is also poking around a lot of interesting things like corners and cobwebs and windows and stuff.
Sneezy. I'm assuming Sneezy is sort of within earshot, or at least at some point and I wouldn't have to call loudly enough to alert other people to what I was doing. I was just going to and perhaps since I do have sort of a bond with Sneezy, that I could sort of instruct him to, could you just kind of skulk around and phase in and out and see if you can determine for us a little bit more about how trustworthy the Queen's sister is?
That's his aunt.
Oh, that's true. He might be biased. But, I mean, I did save his life. Or unlife.
As Sneezy blinks a couple of times and then walks away, showing you its butt.
What, he didn't knock anything off the shelf on his way?
Not yet, not this time. Maybe Sneezy got the message. Sneezy did take off.
I guess if we see Donut or somebody
Donut,
else,
yes. It's not Donut the Ancient, it's Donut.
Donut.
Yes.
let them know that Granite's here and that we have set up a community garden and that we have dispatched some of the assassins.
Excellent. Z will most definitely be thrilled to hear that. Now, I don't suppose, by any chance, you found any kind of food lying around that fell from a tree or something? A little hungry.
No.
Ah, okay. Can't be helped.
But if you happen to be walking with a bag of seeds down in that area and they fall out of the bag, they'll probably grow really well, and I don't know how that falls into the whole thing.
Ooh. You see his eyes kind of flash. He's like, ooh, I think I have a trip to take. And he leaves the room. Z very much hears the sound of your voice through guards and what have you, is alerted to the fact that you're there, and suggests that you are brought to her chambers, her study. There's kind of a meeting room in her part of the palace, from which to discuss things further.
Okay.
Very well.
All right, so I'm going to quick move you again on the map. You're actually inside of the building here, but for the purposes of what is going on, I'm going to kind of just sort of put you on the map. Now, you're not visible from the outside. You're inside the building, just kind of for your benefit. All right,
This
and
is
that,
representatively where we're at.
yeah, representatively where you're at. So the Queen Sister has you take a seat and says, tell me everything you saw.
Well, that's not hard. We can repeat what we saw, which was the assassins out hunting the streets. Were they killing or trying to capture commoners?
They were killing.
Yeah, it looks like it was mostly just killing.
Yep.
Do we have
Capturing
any
and killing, yeah.
Do we have any idea how many of those there were?
I have heard countless numbers throughout the city. I have members of the Queen's Guard going out hunting right now. I've called some hunters that I know are in the area, or I've been told are in the area. I have had to, I am sorry to say, behead a few members of the Queen's Guard who were in league with the Queen and the King. However, it appears that some members of the Queen's Guard were acting under duress and are more than willing to help us now. I've chosen, at least for now, to keep them on, just for basic protection. Let's hope that they're true to their word.
Yes, indeed. Well, there's at least like 5 less now, so.
Well, perhaps that is something that we can task people with. Would you like to be in charge, perhaps, of ridding the city of the Queen's assassins?
Moi? Absolutely.
All right. Well, that sounds good. So then, my first order as Queen, I guess, will be to task you with ridding the city of the Queen's assassins. At which point,
just wondering.
At which point, you hear a sound coming up the stairs. Granite going, wait. And Granite, the memory, huffs up the stairs to the Queen's chamber. Z looks at Granite and says, Granite, it's so good to see you. And they hug. Granite says, yes, it is indeed good to see you, but I have some news. I've been doing some research as to the order of succession, and I don't know, maybe we should all sit down.
All right.
Does it matter if I sit down? Because basically I'm a halfling, so I'm as tall sitting down as standing up.
Well, that's up to you. So,
But if I sit down, maybe Sneezy will come back and get in my lap.
you don't see Sneezy at the moment.
I said maybe he'll come back and sit in my lap.
All right, so Granite is like, I've done some research, and to the best of my knowledge, there was not a formal lineage of succession outside of one which acknowledges that a conqueror, one who takes over by force, becomes the next ruler of the realm. That was hundreds of years ago. That dates back to the ceremony. And Z is like kind of looking as around, then suddenly has a realization. What? What?
So what does that mean?
That means the person who killed the queen is the new queen.
My head whips around and looks at Taviana.
My jaw drops 2 inches to the floor since I am only a halfling.
How technically do you want to get Taviana? What killed her?
Ah, what do you mean? What do you mean? Granite points to Maximilian. Speak.
Well, so since we're in the appropriate company now, what we found way back when we went north was a tree god. And that tree god had apples of eternal life.
So that's how she did it.
Of which the queen had eaten. However, we cut the tree down.
Well, we
well.
blew up the tree.
Maximilian blew up the tree, literally.
To be fair, it was trying to kill you.
Yeah. And myself. I also blew myself up as part of that, but I got better, sort of.
Z shakes her head. It goes, that can't be. This little thing, this little member of the Queen's Hunters, no disrespect, but I mean, you're just a Queen's Hunter. She can't be Queen. At which Granite says, that's the law.
Me?
How? Z says, how did you kill the Queen?
By accident?
For out of character, for your own memory benefit, if you wish to say it, it's up to you. But it was your spiritual weapon that actually caused it. It was your summoned spiritual weapon that rolled a nat 20 that
that's right.
caused the Queen's head to explode.
Well, I didn't mean to, but
I was just trying to give you an out.
yeah, I cast a spell that led to the Queen's demise.
What spell?
Spiritual weapon. I created a weapon that caused the Queen's head to explode.
What does that mean? What does that mean? And he says, I need a little more time. And he goes back downstairs. At which point Z is looking at you, Taviana, with...
Undisguised hate?
Not undisguised hate. It's kind of hard to tell, but she is staring, like trying to read you, and clearly considering something.
I attempt with absolutely no difficulty whatsoever to look confused.
A little bit later, it's mostly you just sit in silence. A little bit later, Granite comes back and says, now that is a conundrum. That is a conundrum. You were not holding the weapon that killed the Queen. It was the technically, the entity behind the spiritual weapon may be the next queen, but clearly that can't be possible. So, I don't know. Z, you're the queen's sister. Maybe you're in charge. At which point Z says, clearly we should not be putting the realm in charge of her.
I think
I draw myself up to my full 3'6" and say, her? I'm just her? Not that I had no aspirations to be queen, but I don't appreciate being insulted.
She
All
did
right.
save you all.
So, Granite turns to you and says, I think we have a conundrum here. Is that one we can solve in our room? Or
Probably.
in this room here now? Or should we... I don't know. Tabiana, is it, you said?
Yes.
Do you want to be queen?
I would like to be perfectly honest with you. It is not something I have ever considered, because I never imagined something like this could happen.
And she says, she's clearly not qualified.
I again draw myself up to my full 3'6" and say, again with the insults, it is something I would like to give some thought to. Because, I felt really good about the people we were able to help over the last few days. Saving a commoner, helping people grow food. If being queen might allow me to do more such deeds as that, I very well might be interested.
Well, I guess that settles it then.
Might I suggest we set up a council of sorts to sort it all out? Also to deal with the fact that that law will become a murder who's in charge law.
I mean, that is the way it's worked, isn't it not? I don't know. Z says, wait, you cannot run the world. You don't know enough to run the world. It takes someone who... It takes a lot. It takes a lot to run a realm. You haven't seen the court. You haven't seen the system. You don't know the queen's memory like I do. I was her best friend, her confidant. Clearly it should be me.
That's why we need your help.
All right. And Granite says, yeah, perhaps as temporary administrator of the realm, it would make sense to put Z in charge, at least until we have our formal swearing-in ceremony.
That way we can have a regency, and then we can figure out how we want to deal with the rest of the top end of things.
Well, here's what I know, Z says. So far, the only people who know what happened are in this room. And, of course, now you. She points to Granite.
Well, he's in the room, so.
Yeah. So, here's what I suggest. You don't want to be in charge of the world. Maybe you should just leave the city. You tell everyone that I killed the queen. If you just tell everyone I killed the queen, then... everything will make a lot more sense. The realm will remain stable. If you're in charge, we'll delve into chaos and civil war.
Why is that?
Oh, they can't have someone like that in charge of the realm, not after hundreds of years of the Queen's rule.
Someone like what?
Short little person. You're not even tall enough to ride a horse.
I've absolutely ridden horses. Also...
So if height is the qualification for leader, it should clearly be Maximilian, shouldn't it?
At which point Granite chuckles. Well, it's not height, though. As a matter of fact, taking a head off tends to lower your height.
And Z, I did not come here to quarrel with you. I did not even know this was going to happen when we stepped into this room. But I can see you perhaps arguing the point that I should be queen, but the amount of, shall we say, forceful persuading you're trying to do, coupled with the insults, in my experience, these kinds of tactics are used by people with something to hide who don't deserve what they're trying to get.
I would agree with that assessment. We all trusted you up until probably about a couple hours ago.
Right. I mean, you only kind of know the Queen's sister. You mostly know the Queen's sister from back in the a feast time when you had to secure the Queen's sister a turkey. So you mostly know the Queen through that as much as, and then this recent battle. But for the most part, you've known the Queen's sister as, you know, one of the, if not the second most powerful person in the realm, right? And they are very much steeped into the royalty that the existing ensconced royalty of the world. So you know they're not the type to feed the poor.
Do you both agree that you would go with whatever Granite decided?
I am a servant of the realm, and I will abide by the realm's rules.
I also serve the realm, and I will abide by the realm's rules. And might I also point out, depending on the outcome, I would certainly not be opposed to some kind of collaborative ruling effort if nothing can be found in Granite's research to make a firm decision. I certainly believe, Z, that you would certainly bring many valuable qualities to the role. I believe I have my own qualities that would be valuable. It might be something to consider.
That is something to consider because a co-rulership that continues down the ages leaves much less chance of the realm becoming leaderless at times.
Well, it looks like we are mostly set. At which point, you pick up the fact that there's some sound of people out in the courtyard.
Lucretia, I think your crowd has gathered.
I believe that that's true.
Well, my ladies, should we go speak with them?
Yes. All right, so you head out onto the balcony to see a crowd of hundreds of people looking. Really, they've learned that the queen is dead, is the word that's said. If not dead, the queen is at least no longer in power. There's rumors all over the place, perhaps, about what might be going on, but nonetheless, people are like, this is the day of history, right?
I am
So
sort
you
of
start
glancing
seeing
over my
people
shoulder just to make sure that Z does not push me over the edge of the balcony.
Not a bad call. As a matter of fact, Z is holding your hand, or at least trying to hold your hand, walking out to the balcony, shoulder around you, and kind of taking the lead.
So I'm going to come up from behind, using my full imposingness behind them both, just to cap off this entourage.
Okay, I cast Crusader's Mantle. Holy power radiates from you in an aura with a 30-foot radius, awaking boldness in friendly creatures. Until the spell ends, the aura moves with you centered on you. While in the aura, each non-hostile creature in the area, including you, deals radiant damage, which hopefully won't come up. But it
Makes you glow.
yes.
All
and,
right.
and gives you an aura of and it gives Tabiana some courage.
I am going to cast Sanctuary on myself. I am warded against attack until the spell ends. It lasts for 1 minute.
You see, once Tabiana starts glowing, a flash of anger, briefly, in Z's eyes, before she returns to her placid political self. Still holding you by the hand, however, there's now silence as you start to glow. Granite goes to the podium and says, or to the edge of sort of the balcony and says, "Hear ye, hear ye! A time long considered has finally happened. The realm of the queen is over!" And it echoes, and you hear a gigantic cheer from the masses. They clearly had been suffering in recent months. The new ruler of the realm is Tabiana. What's your name? What's your last name? Tabiana. Tabiana Brightleaf. Tabiana Brightleaf, the queen. And he bows. Z nods, bows to you, and the assembled crowd, also in silence, tend to bow to you. I present thee with the Mace of Leadership, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. It's a very unusual mace. Not just a scepter, but a battle weapon of sorts. Actually, very much a battle weapon, which you'll find out in a second. But it is a weapon that's not just ceremonial, but is in fact an incredibly unusual item that you have never before seen.
Also, while we are not in combat, I would like to cast Guardian of Faith.
Okay. That creates a spiritual visible
A
guardian
large
around you, right?
spectral guardian appears and hovers for the duration 8 hours, not concentration, so I can do whatever. Unoccupied space of my choice, well, the closest space to me that's also within range of Z if she tries something funny. And if any creature hostile to me that moves within 10 feet of the guardian must succeed on a dex saving throw or take 20 radiant damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one.
And for those who watched us kill that turkey, that's the turkey killer.
It is. Is it really?
Yes, that's how we did it.
How did you get a Rod of Lordly Might?
No, not the rod.
Guardian of Faith.
Spell. Guardian of Faith.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. You see this, right? The Rod of Lordly Might, right?
Yes.
All right, so
Right.
that's the scepter that has been given to Tabiana, and I'm now going to put it in your inventory. Now, there may be some people who play a little bit of D&D who know a little bit about the Rod of Lordly Might. Let's see. It is, after all, a very big, important magical item. Let's see, how do I get it to you? Oh, here we go. Oh, go. So it is a flanged head rod, and the rod itself has a whole bunch of different things. First off, it functions as a magic mace that grants a +3 bonus to attack and damage. It also has properties associated with 6 different buttons set in a row along its haft. It has 3 other properties as well. So, you can press one of the rod's 6 buttons as a bonus action. The button's effect will last until you push a different button or until you push the same button again, which causes the rod to revert to its normal form. If you press button 1, it becomes a fiery blade. Button 2, it turns into a magical +3 battle axe. Button 3, it turns into a spear point. Button 4, it turns into a 50-foot long climbing pole, sort of a grappling hook thing. Button 5, it turns into a handheld battering ram. And button 6 indicates magnetic north. It also has some abilities that you can use once per day to drain life, paralyze, and terrify. It's basically a rod that can be used as a ruling weapon of the realm, and it is now yours, Tabiana.
I approve of this message.
Nice. All right, so everyone's, just kind of shaken to their core and in awe of what's going on here. Z sees the rod being given to you, and you hear lots of commotion, outside and all that. Eventually, they turn to you, Lucrezia, for what do you want to do? What's your first order?
Do you mean Tabiana?
Yeah, sorry. This is Tabiana.
I was like-
This is your
I was like,
first order. The audience basically eventually, once they cheer and what have you, kind of look expectantly to you, Tabiana.
I would like to organize this realm a little better. I see so many of you who are lacking basic necessities, and we've been able to help a little bit. We've got some crops planted, but I would like to, I don't know, and I'm going to be honest with you. This is not something I've ever prepared for, so I may ask for your help in deciding what is best for the people of Queenkin. But I need to know what you need. I would like much more wealth equality. I want hard work to be rewarded, but I also do not want people to live in poverty and destitution.
Are you saying this like in a speech to the group, or just casually to the group in front of you? Like, are you saying this to
I'm
Yeah?
saying this to the whole gathered throng.
Okay. They mostly seem to look confused. I don't think they're really used to this kind of talk.
It is my wish to be a benevolent ruler, and I do promise to you to study and absolutely seek advice from Z if she will give it, from my friends, Lucretia and Maximilian, who know many things, and also from Granite, who is very wise.
Granite steps up and says, "The council has been named. You are all welcome to go about your daily business. We will have more edicts from the realm in the near future. Please, for today, be well, go home, tend to your family.
Before
The dark night is over."
I would like. I am assuming that in the palace there is much food and good food, and I would like to know who here, who gathered below, who is in need of food. May we please share some of this food in this palace with the people who need it.
Yeah, I will see it done. Granite says, at which point Z says, "Better not touch my food."
Starting
She
Well,
also
Z
kind of starts to
here.
mutter and move kind of away inside. Now she actually picks up Esnazarius Jr., who has appeared kind of over by the doorway, snuggles the cat a little bit, says, "Oh, who are you, little kitty?" and whispers something into its ear, and then moves away.
I stoop down, not that anyone can tell since I am only 3 feet 6 inches tall. Say to Sneezy Jr., I understand that you have a very strong bond with Z, and I certainly would not expect you to break that. But I hope that you will recall that you and I also have a very strong bond. I will not seek to turn you against her. I hope that you would remember the bond that we share if she would seek to turn you against me.
Okay.
I also move so that the bag of temptations in my backpack rattles enticingly.
At which point, Esnazarius Jr. rubs up against your head and sends you a psychic message. You see a flash of what was whispered to Esnazarius Jr. by Z. Saying, "Oh, you're a good kitty. You're a good kitty. It was nice to see you brought to me from Tabiana. Tabiana's going to lose her head."
That would be considered hostile, would it not?
Yeah.
Is she within 10 feet of, or at this point, or anybody, was she
And
within
she has
10
gone back into the tower. You don't see her immediately.
Well, when she was whispering to Sneezy, she seemed to be pretty doggone close to me. Would that have been within 10 feet of my guardian?
I had sort of pictured, like I said, she was backing in through the archway, picked up the cat, whispered to it, set it down. So I'm going to say probably not within 10 feet of you. And now your
Well, I don't
guardian,
know.
though, I don't know exactly where your guardian was.
The guardian would be probably directly behind me. And I'm just looking at these squares. If they're 5 feet, she was absolutely within 10 feet of him.
Okay, and why does that matter? What are you looking to do?
Well, because if has hostile intent towards me, on a turn, so I guess that wouldn't count. Never mind. But any creature hostile to me who moves to a space within 10 feet of the Guardian for the first time on a turn, that's where it all goes south, must succeed on a dex saving throw and 20 damage on a failed save or half as much on successful. But since we're not in combat, I guess that doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm gonna. This was sent to you really as a message just to you from Esnazarius. You basically picked up the words psychically, essentially, that the cat had been heard. So, I mean, you could just attack, but keep in mind at this point you would just be attacking the Queen's sister for no clear reason.
Yeah, and I certainly couldn't explain that. By the way, where is Granite right now? I'm
Granite's right in front of you. He's the one that just made the edict, told everyone to go back to their
Okay.
homes, and that future stuff would happen. And he said he would see done, the distribution of food from the royal palace.
Okay, well, I don't want to get Sneezy in trouble. I really hate to use a level 5 spell, but...
Yeah, I think we want to deal with it not in front of a bunch of people.
Well, I'm guessing that the mass of people below cannot hear things we say in a low voice or a whisper up here.
Absolutely not, yeah.
I would suggest that one of our first acts be to change and establish a method of succession.
Yes, that is a very good, very, very good.
I mean, we can. This is after your realm, after all, now. However, I would say we have a realm succession. It's maybe somewhat based on murder, but, it's a rule. It's a law.
I would
That's
like
why
to
it should probably
say,
be changed.
yes, loud enough that just the people in the tower can hear, including Granite. My absolute first order of business, besides getting the hungry people fed, is I would like to establish a rule of succession that does not rely on someone being murdered, especially if that someone is me.
Probably, I'm gonna guess you're not the first person to find themselves royalty who would be like, what would be great is if I'm not murdered.
Granite, let me ask
Speaking of the
you.
Roman Empire.
Yep.
I would like to issue an edict effective immediately that my successor, someone that to be named by me, is the one who will become ruler upon my death.
He looks a little concerned and says, I will see it done.
Okay. Maximilian, Lucretia, do either one of you actually... I'm trying to think how I... Wait a minute. I may know how I can... Okay, I am going to use sending. I'm going to send this to Lucretia. And I'm going to say... Granite's friendly with Z, but what do you think of naming him as successor?
Lucretia nods to herself.
But in front aloud, just so that the people on the tower can hear, I will say, Lucretia or Maximilian, do either of you have any interest in becoming ruler should I pass away or become, for any reason, unable to hold the office?
I do not. However, I believe Granite here would be a fine candidate for that.
That was actually something I was thinking. The other thing that just occurred to me to maybe further prevent murder from being the way a new ruler takes office, perhaps having a line of succession where out of the other the three people on this tower with me, I name one of you, say in a line that like number you 1, 2, and 3, so that if for some reason something would happen to me and the first person cannot or will not hold the office, it would then pass to the next one. Just basically three people, 3 layers of protection against getting murdered.
Well, I mean, you could get murdered, but then there would be another person in the party who would be the queen.
Then get
Well,
murdered.
exactly. If they murdered, if I only name one successor, they would only have to kill 2 people. If I name 4 people are harder to kill than 2.
It's true.
Get murdered, then you get to have a salad named after you.
So speaking of salads, that is essentially where we're going to wrap up the episode tonight. The Granite does get distribution of food. The distribution of food not only takes quite some time, it's not something you can just immediately do, but opening up the storehouses, having a feast in the royal courtyard, that they're kind of used to. This time, however, that feast is not of souls by demi-liches, but rather actual food for people who need it. So you've made quite a few friends. The realm, the inner city is starting to bustle. You do notice that it does seem like a lot of the upper class is gone from the middle city here. It's hard to say where they are, but they're mostly not there, at least not tonight.
And one thing I would like to do just when Granite goes off to prepare this feast before the rest of us head down the tower or where we're going, with just the 3 of us on the tower, I would like to make sure that Maximilian and Lucretia know what Sneezy Jr. showed to me about Z and wanting to behead me.
We will not let that happen.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll be back in 1 month with part 2 of this campaign here, and we'll the new Eternya part 2, and that'll be. Let me check the actual date, but it's the third
October
Sunday of
17th?
October.
October
17th. All right, there we go. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And next Sunday, I will check the schedule as well while I'm doing a few little bits and bobs there. Let's have everyone in the party. Once again, just say who you are and where people can find out more about what you got going on. If you got something to plug, promote, what have you, now's a good time to do it. Let's start with you, Maximilian.
All right, this is Alex, and you can find me here running games on the first Sunday of the month with Rime of the Frost Maiden, and playing against some others. You can also check out our goods at eldritchentertainment.com or theamethystdragonfly.com, which will both take you to our Etsy store.
Sweet. You got anything, Lucretia?
Just that I will also be playing in Rime of the Frost Maiden, as well as Patrick's game Oracle of War, which is I believe the second Sunday of every month.
All right, and then finally, Tabiana.
I got nothing.
Even note on YouTube and elsewhere. I think your YouTube is Even Note Emerald.
Yes. And Kobold even on Twitch, but if you're actually in Twitch chat, you can probably see that.
Oh, so you haven't been streaming in a long time.
No.
Yep. But that's fine. Next Sunday is going to be Evil Beaker's campaign, so we'll stick around for that next Sunday, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, D&D night on DDOstream, brought to you by Fantasy Grounds. Thank you so much, Fantasy Grounds, for being a sponsor. You can find out more at fantasygrounds.com. I'm Cordovan. That means I work for Standing Stone Games. I'm their community manager. So, DDO.com, you already know about it if you're on this channel, but tell your friends, tell them to download the game client and check things out. So, we'll see you for more Tabletop next Sunday. Have fun, everyone.
Thanks
Good
for
night,
watching.
everyone. Thanks for watching.